DC is going through the biggest population shift it's had in years. During the pandemic, almost 40,000 people left. But now, the city's back up to more than 700,000 residents for the first time since 2019. That's huge! A lot of the same people who moved to places like Atlanta, Chicago, and the suburbs are now coming back, and it's turning DC into one of the hottest housing markets in a long time. So today, I'm going to explain why so many people are moving back, which cities they're leaving, and what this all means for housing prices. Let's get into it. Let me paint you a picture of what went down during the pandemic, because honestly, it was something we've never seen before. Between 2020 and 2021, DC lost more people than at any other time in recent history. That meant $1.6 billion hit a taxable income, which was a 7.6% drop. But it gets even wilder. The U.S. Postal Service, which tracks where people forward their mail, showed that net out immigration shot up from 11,480 people in 2019 to 29,362 in 2020. That's a 156% jump in just 1 year. Total night and day difference. And when I show you the housing market numbers later, you'll see how this huge exodus set the stage for what could be the biggest real estate boom DC has seen in decades. I'll break it down in just a bit. Now, here's the deal. Remote work flipped the script. Suddenly, people could keep their DC paychecks while living somewhere way cheaper. Credit card data made it super clear where they went. Moves out of the DC metro went up 8.6% to other affordable metro areas, 8.1% to mid-sized cities, and 12% to smaller towns. And where did everyone go? Atlanta was a big one. It's got incomes about 30% lower than DC, but housing costs were way cheaper. Chicago pulled in a lot of people too, thanks to its tech and finance jobs, plus lower cost of living. Chesapeake, Virginia also drew people in, with living costs of 3.3% below Atlanta and the suburban vibe that families wanted. And even Fairfax County saw more people moving in since it kept them close to DC while giving them more space and family-friendly perks. The reasons behind this wave of moves were crystal clear. First, space. People wanted bigger homes and room for a home office. Second, affordability. DC housing was 144% higher than the national average, which is insane. And third, lifestyle. During lockdowns, the slower pace of suburbs and small cities sounded way better than the constant rush of urban life. At the time, it felt permanent. People swore DC was done, that remote work had killed the need for expensive city living. But here's the twist, that mass out-migration actually set the stage for what came next. When tens of thousands of people leave a market at once, it opens the door for a massive comeback. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. The foundation was laid for one of the biggest rebound stories DC real estate has ever had. But before I break down the comeback, quick favor. If you're into migration trends like this, hit that subscribe button now. I'm always covering the shifts most people don't catch until it's too late, from housing crashes to population booms to neighborhood shakeups. Trust me, you don't want to be the last to know when these changes hit. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, and it's been a while to watch. In January 2025, the Trump administration put out an executive order that forced federal employees back into the office full-time. And it kicked off what might be the biggest return-to-work migration DC has seen in decades. Here's the scale. More than 300,000 federal employees work in the DC area, and most agencies set February 24th, 2025 as the deadline to comply. The effect was instant. Metro ridership shot up, and Noma Station hit its highest passenger counts in 20 years. That's how you know this is real. And it's not just federal workers. Major employers are following the lead. Amazon brought everyone back to office 5 days a week in January 2025, and is expanding its DC footprint. JP Chase ended remote work in March 2025. Government contractors, which are huge in this region, now require people to be near federal agencies for collaboration. And while we're talking about all these people coming back, just wait until you see what's happening with home prices in Navy Yard and other neighborhoods right now. I'll show you the exact numbers in just a few minutes. But here's the thing, none of this is happening in a vacuum. DC has unique advantages that pandemic hotspots cannot match. and people are remembering why they loved living here in the first place. Let's start with transit, because this one's a game changer. DC has one of the best metro systems in the country, with 626,000 weekday riders. Using transit saves about $2,800 a year compared to the $12,000 it costs to own a car. Plus, the average person can access more than 250,000 jobs within an hour. On top of that, DC's walk score is 77, ranked 6th in the nation. Then there's culture and lifestyle. DC has over 70 museums, and most of them are free. It's home to 160 monuments and memorials, and the networking opportunities are unmatched. Nowhere else puts you in direct contact with policymakers, think tanks, and global organizations like DC does. Meanwhile, those so-called destination cities are showing cracks. Atlanta's MARTA system is not nearly as comprehensive as DC's metro, and walkability is limited to a few pockets. Chicago may be more walkable, but it cannot match DC's federal jobs or international presence. Even suburban Virginia is seeing traffic get way worse as former remote workers crowd in. Another big shift is the cost gap. DC is still pricey, 53% above the national average overall, and housing is 144% above the national average. But other metros have caught up fast. Atlanta used to be cheap, but rents and living costs have jumped. Today, DC rent is 64.4% higher than Atlanta, but restaurant prices are only 15.5% higher. Local purchasing power is still 2.7% lower in DC, but that gap keeps shrinking. And here's something else adding fuel to the rebound: international migration. In 2024, the international migration rate rose from 15 to 18 per 1,000 people. That's 12,500 new residents in 1 year, a 21% increase. These are visa workers from tech and consulting firms, embassy staff, and international organization employees, students from Georgetown, GW, and American who decide to stay, and policy pros working for NGOs and think tanks. Put it all together and you get a perfect storm pulling people back to DC. This rebound is not just about job mandates or federal orders. It's about people realizing that certain advantages like career opportunities, infrastructure, and cultural depth just cannot be duplicated anywhere else, no matter how much you save on rent. So the big question now, how's this surge translating into real dollars and cents in the housing market? Okay, so the numbers are pretty eye-opening, and they make it clear where things are heading. DC's housing market is showing real strength, with growth focused in some key areas. In 2024, the median home price hit $655,000, which is up 5% from 2023. The DC metro area overall hit a record $605,000 in 2024. Conditions are tight, with 53% of homes selling in 10 days or less. That tells you just how high demand is right now. Let me break down the hot neighborhoods, because this is where things get exciting. Navy Yard is leading the charge. Prices there are soaring, with the median hitting $712,000 in July 2025, which is a 21.1% jump. That's massive for one area. You can find one-bedroom condos starting around $300,000, but luxury units go over $1 million. New construction is still rolling out with high-end amenities and waterfront access, so the momentum is strong. Capitol Hill is holding its own as an established favorite. Even with higher mortgage rates, sales stayed strong in 2024. More families and seniors are choosing to stick around, which shows stability. Its central location keeps value steady during market swings, making it one of the safer investment bets. Arlington County gives buyers a suburban option with big demand. In 2024, the median sales price reached $648,000, up 2% year over year. Listings went up a lot, so buyers have more options, but demand still keeps price moving. Single-family homes average $1.54 million. Townhomes are around $554,000. Alexandria is another one to watch. The median home price was $630,000 as of May 2024. Homes are selling at 101% of the list price, which means heavy competition amongst buyers. So what's driving this across the board? It comes down to supply and demand. New construction is limited, so inventory stays tight. Multiple offers are common in most desirable neighborhoods. The price growth we're seeing looks sustainable as the federal workforce stabilizes and international migration adds fuel. For investors, properties near metro stations carry a premium, and growing diplomatic and business community is pushing demand for luxury housing. But here's the big picture. The mix of federal return to office rules DC's strong transit and cultural advantages, the pressure on other metros, shrinking cost gaps, and rising international migration are all combining to pull people back into the region. What we're seeing is a textbook case of how population shifts build wealth for those who spot the trend early. The people who left under the pandemic freed up inventory that's now being snapped up by return migration and new international residents. It's a supply and demand rebalancing happening in real time. And the neighborhoods adjusting the fastest are seeing the biggest gains. So the big question is, where does this leave us? And what should you keep your eye on as this trend keeps unfolding? Look, this is about way more than a short-term policy change. What we're seeing reflects DC's long-term strengths as a global capital with career opportunities you can't find anywhere else. Great amenities and infrastructure that lets people live without depending on a car, which most American cities simply can't offer. The housing market rebound in Navy Yard, Capitol Hill, Arlington, and Alexandria shows that demand is real and turning into steady price growth. This wave of people coming back is not just a blip. It's going to shape the region's real estate market for years to come. If you're thinking about moving back to DC, or if you're an investor eyeing opportunities in the market, send me an email today at ryan@coalitionpg.com. Don't wait too long because the window to get in before prices climb even higher is closing fast. And before you head out, check out my next video, linked here, where I break down the entire DC metro area in just 20 minutes. If you're planning a move in 2025, this is all you'll need, and I promise you'll get insights you won't find anywhere else. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.